Strong looks different for each of us, and it's time to put focus on our unique journeys that get us there. This space, created weekly, is for athletes to improve their mindset in order to better navigate challenges that come up in sport and in different seasons of life. On this show, we ask the questions that lead to better answers and have the conversations that truly matter. This is the Becoming Your Strong podcast. Hey, you guys. Welcome back to another episode of the Becoming Your Strong podcast. This is kind of fun right now. I am sitting outdoors of my little timeshare condo in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. Dave's actually here. He's not on the episode with me. You just get me this week, but
hey.
You could hear him in the background. But I'm outside, just like enjoying the sunset, recording this episode. So this is kind of cool. So if you hear some background noise, that's what we're doing. But welcome to the show. Let's go ahead and kick it off with the Becoming Your Strong moment of the week, which I have to apologize. I do not remember this individual's name because I judged so many people while I was out in Connecticut last weekend for the Underdog Memorial Day weekend event. But if he ever by chance listens to this show, he'll know that it's him because I'm going to share a little bit of his story. But this competitor came up to me needing a judge, and older man, father of 2 kids. He got into DECA from Spartan racing, just like most people typically do. And he was like, look, I'm going to be a slow one for you today. I'm so sorry. I already did the DECA mile, kind of blew out my knees, but I don't want to quit. I don't want to give up. Like I want to do the strong and just go through it slowly and say that I did it. It's like, absolutely, dude. I'll be here every step of the way with you. What was really cool about this is each station we took a little bit of a break, and I was recording him because he asked me to take some content of him, and he eventually explained why he wanted me to take video of him. And he's like, I do this a lot for my children. I was like, tell me more about this. And he was just sharing stories about his kids and how important it is to him to set the example and to help them build good habits, help them get involved in things that are going to build their character to be better human beings in the future. And I just thought that was super powerful, is that he came up to me knowing that he was not in any good shape to try and do this. Obviously not so poor of shape that he would hurt himself, but he wasn't feeling his best. It's not like he was going to get a PR like maybe he was hoping to when he arrived that day. His plans maybe shifted a little bit, but he came back to his ultimate purpose and his why, which were his kids, and to show them that there's going to be times where things are not ideal, and you have to find the reason why you're doing things and maybe shift the expectations a little bit, let go of the outcome. And so he was able to share that he not only did the DECA mile that day, but also did the strong and had video footage of it. So he go back home and just be really proud with his children that he pushed through something hard. So I just thought that was absolutely amazing. And I wanted to share that story for those of you. Again, I know that if you're doing DECA along with me, it's the thick of race qualification season. We're about to enter it. And that's what honestly inspired the episode for this week is, like I mentioned, was out in Underdog last week, and I had the intention of qualifying for the elite wave when I traveled out there. Like that was the whole purpose. That was the big thing. Of course, want to see my family, my race family, wanted to just have fun, having an awesome weekend, which I always do. But that was the top priority and the goal going out there. And so I did do the race. I did the strong. That's the one that I'm hoping to go back into the elite wave for in 2025. And I did really well. For not putting in a very specified training block for this, I've been focused on other really fun things that I've been excited about. To have not been just totally 100% effort focused on that, to put up a time that was only 11 seconds slower than my PR, I felt really good about that. But if I'm also being honest on the other side of that, I know that time is probably not going to hold, because when it comes to the elite wave, these things come down to the literal second. And so when I left the weekend, I was reflecting on the plane and I was like, this is it. Like I have anywhere from 8 to 10 weeks until the August event. And I've got to start to build. If I really want to make this a priority this year, if this is really what I want, I got to start to go into the build. And I had just really good conversations with myself as far as what I wanted that to look like, who I was going to show up as during this build. and just things that I needed to hear in that moment that I thought would be really positive to share with the listeners that maybe you're going through something similar or will go through something similar in the future. So one thing that I did want to mention before bringing up a couple of these things were just some of the questions that I was asking myself in regards to what was going to make me feel the most confident in August. Because I think that for a lot of us as athletes, we'll put in the training, we'll put in the work, but then when it comes to race day, there's those doubts that always creep in. And so that's like never not going to be there. It's always going to happen. But how are we able to overcome those? And there was questions that I asked myself that I also posed to myself last year that really helped me with that. So when I got to race day, I was like, I got this. Like, yes, I'm nervous, but it's the good nerves that are going to bring the right adrenaline to help push me over the edge. Not like the I'm doubting myself and my mind's going to be the reason why I don't accomplish what I want to do today. And so the couple of questions that I asked myself were, what are the doubts that I need to hash out, and how am I going to build that trust to overcome them? When I ask myself something as specific as that, it allows for me to see what mental, emotional, physical things do I need to overcome. And that's really powerful for me because now I know the exact answers of where I need to guide my training, not just, again, physically, but also mentally when I'm in my training blocks. Other questions that I ask myself is, how do I balance that, all of that work that I'm going to put in mentally, physically, emotionally? How do I balance that with how I'm going to show up the most genuine version of me during this process? Because the last thing that I want to do is lose myself during this process. Very vulnerably, I think we shared this last week when Dave and I were on the podcast together, is I finally made it to the elite wave last year. And while that was all fun and exciting, I also had to learn a lot and go through a lot. And Dave was on the supporting side of that. And while I do think that there were some great moments, there were also some moments of where I wasn't totally myself. I didn't show up the way that I wanted to show up. And so I've been really intentional about, for this next 8 to 10 weeks, when I do this, yes, I want this to be important, but I also don't want it to take over my life. I still want to show up the same joyful, goofy me, and I just want to enjoy it. Like, these are the fun things. These are the things that we live for. And I don't want to be this like uptight, gripping the bat too hard type of person. And I feel like it's really easy for us athletes to do that. So just before even diving into the real conversation today, I just wanted to share that these were some of the questions that I asked myself, and that's what led to some of these conversations and things that I'm going to share with you today. But these are the 3 things that I think that everyone needs to hear going into the thick of this race season. And the first thing is to not let fleeting feelings win. This is such an important one because it doesn't matter if it's in training or if it's in a race or if it's even before any of that happens. You could just be sitting at home getting ready for the big day. These feelings that we have, you guys, are nothing but fleeting. And yet so many of us allow for those feelings and for those emotions to take over and dictate our thoughts and therefore dictate our actions. And we need to get really good at A, becoming aware of it, B, understanding where those are coming from, and then C, being able to say, is this true? Is this actually serving me in this moment? Do I need to hold on to this, or can I let this go? And this is stuff that takes a lot of time, a lot of practice to get used to start applying to your life, to your athletics. And so I think that this is something that we can truly all work on, is just thinking about how much our feelings and emotions are dictating our actions and our mindset. And the only way that we can get really good at this is obviously practice, but very intentional practice, spending more time being uncomfortable and therefore working through those moments. So I'm thinking, okay, I need to spend these moments maybe once a week, once a month, at least at a bare minimum, right? Getting into those uncomfortable places. I don't want to like push so hard where I'm going to the well every single day, but I need to find those moments where, okay, I need to like almost simulate a race day and I want to show up the best version of me. How am I going to do that? I need to go to those uncomfortable places to start to figure that out a little bit. So this is a call to action to think about, again, that question of what are your doubts that you're going to have of yourself on the big day. practice those moments right now and practice being able to call out all those feelings and things that are coming to your awareness so that you can get better at just overcoming them and not letting them dictate what you do from there on out. So essentially what we're doing here is making the unfamiliar familiar, so we stop repelling it and start leaning in to what really matters. The second thing that I think people need to hear right now is to just look beyond the time. If all we do is look at our times and whether or not we're PRing and getting faster and faster, we're completely losing the point of what we're doing. Not every race is going to be a PR, and quite honestly, it shouldn't be, because if it was, why are we training in the first place? When we don't PR, when we make mistakes, when we don't have our best day, that's where we learn. That's where we build character. That's where we really start to figure out who we are and what it is that we actually love about what it is that we're doing, why we do what we do. When you get done with a race or with a training session, I want you to think of this post-reflection, this post-race, post-training reflection. What did I just overcome? What did I walk away with today? How will this set me up to be a better me next time? I think those 3 questions alone will help you so much in guiding you to some really good answers that are going to, again, continue to put you down the right path. And it's also just going to get your focus off of the things that don't matter, right? The time, the numbers, the PRs. Those moments are cool, but they only last for so long. These conversations that you're having with yourself because you're choosing to ask yourself these questions and answer them genuinely, that's what I feel is what really matters. And it's just going to be way more meaningful in the future. The last thing that I think that everyone needs to hear right now is you don't always get what you want, but I can tell you, you are going to always get what you need. And I feel like that's exactly where I'm at right now. And I've talked about this before on the podcast, is what would have been really cool is if I did a repeat of last year where I put up a really good time and I knew that it was going to hold throughout the entire season and I was going to qualify elite, and I could just spend the next couple of months doing whatever it is that I wanted to do and then do the nice slow build up to world championships. That's ideal. The universe decided that that's not the chapter that I needed to have. And I'm accepting of that. I'm okay with that. And I was actually sharing this with Dave earlier, is I feel like this is my redo opportunity, that this is my chance to do it right. Not saying that what I did last year was wrong, but it was kind of like the first in making an attempt. It was the first mistake, right? Now I get to go back through and learn from my mistakes, and I get to make it even better. And the best part of this is now I have an army of women that look up to me, that are inspired by me, that I get the beautiful opportunity to coach, and I get to share this with them. I get to show them the healthy way to do this. And that to me is incredibly powerful. I think about the fact that like when I go out to Underdog, I'm going to have some of them there with me. They might even get to watch me do this. They get to watch me go through this journey. I might even get to pace a couple of them, right? Like they might race alongside with me, and just to share those moments of like just learning together and growing together and just being that role model, like that is so special for me. So yes, while it would have been nice and totally comfortable to have already just like felt good about the time that I put up, I see the opportunity in what the next 8 to 10 weeks are going to bring. And I am really excited of who I'm going to become on the other side of it, because I'm choosing to do it the right way. So this is where I'm going to leave you with today, is to continue to trust the process, continue to trust the timing of your life. Let go of the outcome, step into the present, and celebrate how life is showing up for you in this very moment. When you give yourself the permission to do just that, you will find that you will end up being exactly where you are meant to be. Thank you guys so much for showing up for you today, and I hope that this episode truly resonated. If you can, please be sure to share this podcast with the people that need to hear it most. Rate, review the podcast if you hadn't already. And I will see you guys next week for another episode of Becoming Your Strong. See you then.